Diphuputso di bontsha hore thousands of adolescent girls give birth in South Africa annually. The number of births recorded by girls between the age of 10 and 19 increase exponentially year on year. This is concerning and unfortunate. What are the factors that lead to this? That is the conversation we are having on today's episode of Gender Space. I'm your host, Twasa, and a warm welcome to you. On Soshebeletse Gender Space, right here on Dumisa TV channel 340. Today, we are discussing learner pregnancy rates at schools. Here to help us break things down, Renale Commissioner Ohara Ngoma-Diseko and Koketso Sekhu from the Commission for Gender Equality. Bomme, welcome to Gender Space.
Thank you.
Commissioner hore, what is the state of affairs? Re taba ya boimana ba banana. Ba santsane ba le banyane dilemong dikolong mo.
It's a very big problem. It's a very big problem of teenage pregnancy. And I'm saying teenage pregnancy because I actually want to start societal and say within society we have a problem, teenage pregnancy. This is a worrying problem and it spills onto schools. Hence we talk about learner pregnancy. And this has become very serious over the years, and it worsened during the period of COVID. It grew exponentially. And as the CGE, we actually anticipated that we are going to have a serious problem, teenage pregnancy and learner pregnancy, because the children were away from school, away from the safety of the school, and homes, we were under lockdown. And there was, as the health system, I'm talking now during COVID, was focusing on flattening the curve, COVID. There was a lull with regards to services such as SRHR services at clinics, contraceptives were in short supply or not being dispensed, as would have been the case under normal circumstances. And that in itself really impacted on women and young girls. But you know, haki work at teenagers, I don't even want to associate teenagers with pregnancy. Because teenagers, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old is not a teenager. It is a national crisis. Sure. Because from there, it means one know if the child is a learner, that impacts learning koskolo, right? And in terms of our constitution, mulawateo, or every child has a right to education, including adults. So we have a very serious problem, because once a child abalengwana, 10-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-olds, including an 18 and a 19-year-old, it disturbs their schooling. It disturbs the learning outcome of the education system. Mwana owa affected as an individual, psychologically, mentally, physically, you name it. Progress ya early childhood development also gets affected. Uban suddenly onali responsibility ya mosadi omkhulu ya go godisa ngwana. And you know what often happens? Mangwana wa borwala boima bo.
Ne ke kopa go kena mona tabeng ya hore ke eng Commission for Gender Equality ho ya ka mosebetsi wa yona e ngongoreiswa ke eng tabeng tse?
You see, our mandate ya rona ka constitution, ka molaotheo, we must protect gender equality. We must promote gender equality. We must make sure we develop an awareness. We must make sure we attain gender equality. Now, with regards to ngwana o imang a le monyane, it means that ngwana o setse vulnerable to inequality, gender inequality, bana o drop out of school, unemployment, unemployability. Anya le monna or aratane le monna or depending on yena financially, it's a maelana dependency, it deepens inequality uban under financial standing. Le ha ba setse ba mo sharper gender-based violence continuing, that's how it grows because of financial dependence. And iqala ka yona lena pregnancy, child dropping out of school, not having a career, not being employable, and it's just a vicious cycle. Learner pregnancies disposes the girl child to prospects of gender inequality and also gender-based violence because of the dependencies I've alluded to.
Commissioner, we hlalositse ka nnete e hlakile ebile ya tshosa ha o so we hlalosa tjena. Koketso ke tle ho wena. O sebetsa haholo le di-communities tse fapaneng le dikolo, di-programming tse fapaneng, haholo program ena ya sexual and reproductive health rights. Tell us about it.
Okay, so in the Commission for Gender Equality, we have a constitutional mandate, NETWAS. So with our constitutional mandate, it is very, very important that we promote gender equality and advance gender equality through education programs. And when we're going into communities and the schools, we form a collaboration, we form partnerships to say that it is very, very important that we come up with strategies, making sure that we eradicate and combat an increase of teenage pregnancy. And then what are these strategies? What are we doing with communities? What we do is that we form forums, and then we strategize on behalf with multi-sectoral stakeholders. For instance, we can come up also with a campaigns. We come also with workshops, and then also in these workshops, especially in the commission, we have what we call gender and development workshop. This is where it attracts practitioners, your SGBs, the principals, and also your social practitioners outside the schools, but also who work with learners, to say that as the commission, we are concerned with these inequalities, you know, that are linked to a learner who is pregnant. But also with these practitioners, we give them tools so that they can go and impart knowledge on achieving gender equality, because it's what the commissioner said, that it is very, very important that we highlight on these inequalities, but we will do it through also with communities, because remember, as the CGE, we need to influence, all right, because we are a catalyst for achieving gender equality. So if we find the right practitioners and also making sure that gender equality is achieved through policy, through advocacy, and also through protecting and respecting the Constitution, we can really form synergies and be one with communities as Commission for Gender Equality.
E kholo tabena ke khola ha re ya mane fela maphethelong a karolo ena. Di challenges tse leng hore le tobana le tsona ke tse jwang ka nako e letsa mosebetsi o le.
These challenges are embedded and also they are structurally entrenched, all right? So we need to also look into patriarchy. How is patriarchy has really thrived? Because I'm saying this because when you're looking at gender norms and stereotypes that people still hold regarding teenage pregnancy, also perpetuate this ill behavior as well amongst the teenagers. I'll make a typical example. We have cultural norms that still says that at this age, you know, you should be pregnant.
How?
Right? I'm telling you, because that's why even today we're still battling on statutory rape, because we still have teenagers that are married or what do you call it, chobediso? Yes. Because we still have those stereotypes that really hold a young girl as an object, to say that you are a secondary person, and then therefore your body, you know, you don't have autonomy of your body. Therefore, they take a decision of your body. And then these stereotypes become deeply entrenched, you know. If you are from, you know, a community that does not embrace, you know, gender equality, that does not know, you know, and does not respect the Constitution. We spoke about Section 27 of the Constitution to say that everyone has the right to access health. But then when it comes to children, remember sometimes we perceive children as not having rights. Do you see also, it also becomes a vicious cycle and becoming also dangerous to children because now they are limited for them. It's a limitation for them so that they can't access a sexual reproductive health rights.
Tabena ya hore bana ha bana ditokelo le taba hore ha bana maikutlo ke ntho a kgale. Ntho di fetohile hana jwale. Jwale he mamela. Re tswela pele ka taba tsena tse ntseng re bua ka tsona. Hang fela ka mora mona e re kgefu. Re nwe metsi re atla. Titi pote. You're watching Gender Space, the advocates for gender equality. Libitso la ka ke Thwasa, mme ka jeno re bua ka the state of learner pregnancy rates in the country. Ke na le baeti ba ka bentseng re bua le bona kwano, mme re shebana jwalo le taba tsena. O buile ka taba ya dilemo tsa consent, o buile ka statutory rape. Ke kopa hore re qale hana moo. The legal age ya sexual consent ke 16. What does this tell CGE if a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old Batumbamuren are fall pregnant, the commissioner?
Yes. It tells us about dysfunctionality. O kae motswadi wa ngwana ha a ngwana a ba pregnant. I mean, king. Ha a kostiwa ke mona. Ho na le issues tsa rape mo. A 9-year-old can hana consent. Ha tsebe le gore sex ke mo tshwantsana a ba tshameka go a tshameka diketo. O rape. Yeah? O rape whether o rape ke monna wa 60 years, 59 years or 20 years or whatever. O rape because how else does a child get pregnant? And it's obviously a case of statutory rape.
Yes, for Santana Ewi Buang. Koketso har shebeta baya SRHR. Hore tabaya accessibility ya program ina. What influence does it have on issues sitting at a rate ya learner pregnancy?
Oh, it is very important. Too much because for learners, for teenagers to access, it has to be based on also service provision, okay? So it is very, very important that learners or teenagers are at liberty to access sexual reproductive health services. And also making sure that even our health institutions as well, your local clinics, your hospitals, are also friendly. And also accessibility also has to do like what we call comprehensive, education that is evidence-based. And I always say this, Kere, even this education should be able to make sure that it reaches to a person or a learner or a teenager that is vulnerable. For instance, if maybe a teenager that is non-conforming should be comfortable enough and stay encouraged enough to go and access the services, because remember that we are more than a binary. To understand, you have learners, you have teenagers that have realized that I am non-gender conforming. So even this accessibility needs to speak to that intersectionality. I go again to say that also there are learners and teenagers who are in the periphery of the economy, the periphery of the society, where they also get an opportunity to access SRH services, mobile clinic commissioner. Do you understand? And then where does it put them as well? So also we need to also think that traditional practices as well sometimes deter, this accessibility. You find other communities and families say, we don't believe in contraceptives. So now do you see that it now hinders this notion of accessibility? Because we still are confined. There are communities and families that say we don't believe in Western medication, especially more the issues steady tibelang epelehi or spacing your or going for HIV and STI screening and the likes.
Ke gola ku utlwe re o qeta ho bua hana jwale tjena ka lenaneo lena la sexual and reproductive health rights. Ke gola ke tle fela tabeng ena ya hore What does the CGE do to hold government and duty bearers accountable?
You know, a mandate wa rona, mosebetsi wa rona is actually to do, I spoke about what our mandate is, and mosebetsi wa rona ke oversight le monitoring. So we are actually interested. In fact, we've been doing work with the police stations to raise some of these things with the police stations, going to police stations and oversight. You know, we did some work go Pulushong, go more East Rand, and we were informed by the chief, I just forget, Wako Pulushong, and we do have an antenatal clinic for young girls because it happens. Our challenge is that we then open cases as they are expected to do, right? And report Tsakani police station. Report. And we were informed that sometimes those cases just disappear, right? And it links to what she says about the attitudes to some parents and families, you know. It disappears. The question that we ask, that we want, we probe as a CGE, we must still do that follow-up. That's how we hold them. But we've also had engagements. We had a webinar, for example, to talk precisely about this in August, I think about a year ago or so. And we had the police subs, because we had education, because they must report. And education has got that policy, the prevention and management of learner pregnancy, right?
Yeah,
we want to know the extent to which that is working.
It sounds to me like strides are being made. Ha re qala ka hore wa bona re a bua tabeng. Jwale he mamela. Re tswela pele ka taba tsena tse ntseng re bua ka tsona. Hang fela ka mora mona e re kgefu. Phone metsi re atla. Titi pote. Dumela and welcome back to the show. You're still tuned into Gender Space, the talk show that focuses on all things gender equality. Libitso la ka ke Thwasa. Mamela, o ka kenya tletlebo ya hao ka ho romela ditaba tsa hao kaofela ka mohala ho 0800 007709 kapa o ka romela email ho genderinquiries@cge.org.za. Ka jeno re shebane le tabena ya sekgahla se hodimo sa batjha ba imang e sa le bana dikolong tsa Afrika Borwa. With me in the studio is Commissioner Ohara Ngoma-Diseko, and the nice folks from CGE are also here. Me Koketso o teng ho re fa ditaba. Ke gola ke qale mona. Re buile ka bana ba imang. Ke re bana ke kenyeleditse di-teenagers, ke kenyeleditse le bana ba ileng hore ba ka tlase ho dilemo tsena tsa ho ba di-teenager. Na ho na le support for bana ba khutlela dikolong, mme ho ya ka lona ba khutlisetswa hape setjhabeng hore ba boele ba kenele setjhabeng ba phethele dilemo tsa bona tsa khudiso.
In terms of now that policy framework, ho na le batla bua ka go ngwana o tshwantse a khutlele sekolong, ngwana o tshwantse a etse eng a etse a supportiwe and all of that. The truth of the matter, the lived experience, ke gore bana ba tla be ba itswela ko magaeng, ne mama is a domestic worker, kae o sebetsa kae, ntate maybe it's a single parent situation. So I think when we think about this, we actually have to even think about the state of the family units as structures. O thole gore bana ba mo gae till late they are alone. Ba dula in an informal settlement. Conditions are very different and very disempowering. So le ha go na le this policy framework, there must be support and all of that. What is the reality? So I think Runa as CGE, we actually have to look at it. What is the reality? What does the policy say? There is a good policy intent, Is it doable? What I think that is a challenge that we must begin to be looking at as the CGE. And this is part of the work that will be the work of the research report. I will.
Commissioner, ke kopa ho kena hanong ke tle ho koketso integration bana ba amohelwa jwang ba amoheleha jwang ha ise le batswadi ba bana ha una le lemo tse 10 una le ngwana.
Yo, iwima, because you know, they are faced with social stigma, right? Social stigma, Leona, derails this integration process. And also, as they are facing social stigma, it also intensifies psychosocial illnesses, right? Because now you are trying to be integrated as a learner. You are talking to yourself saying, I'm a failure, I have failed my parent. At the same time, you are also emerging or forging your way to being a mother and trying to figure out how you'll go back to school. And then there is this community, the outside force, to say that, yes, you are a failure. You are a burden to society as well. And also, another thing that makes it difficult is that, you know what, also when they go to community clinics as well, they are also stigmatized, to understand, because of sometimes there is this familiarity. We think, and I also want to, it's wrong because they are experiencing what you call secondary victimization. A person who is supposed to be protecting and helping, you know, but victimizes them further. So now this integration conversation now becomes a problem. How will they now accept themselves and also understand that they also need to be integrated when they have all these social factors that is clashing with the idea of now trying to redress themselves, trying to be better, you know. So I think it's as the CG as well, we need to also be very bold when we also do our outreaches, also with stakeholders, to say that it is very, very important that we educate families as well. You know, I mean, DSD, it is a direct agent that goes into families, you know, where they handle issues of children, you know, and also making sure that families are stable. So we need to also be bold about it and deliberate to say that it is very, very important that as a family structure, when a teenager, especially school-going learner, and or just a teenager who's maybe post, you know, high school, it's very important that we minimize stigmatization, but importantly, we reintegrate and have a commitment to reintegration by also looking into other informed knowledge. You know, we can always go to institutions like your NGOs. You have local NGOs that has a programs that are pro-integration. And I believe that when we're also doing our engagements, we do have NGO experts that say that we are for these programs where we want to take in learners who have been pregnant or who are pregnant and they're facing this stigmatization, or they are battling to be integrated. And then they show them tools to capacitate themselves so that they can be brave and bold to go back to school and then also stand up for their future.
Hey, nako yona ka mehla e dula e itsamaela jwalo ka mehla ditaba di santsane di le ngata. Ke tshepa hona le se itseng se re ithutileng sona ka jeno. Let's meet again to discuss another issue on gender important subject. Beke tlang re tla be ntse re le hona teng kwana ho Dumisa TV. Until then, adios.